Good afternoon once again. Welcome to EDA Focus on the Marketplace. I'm Anthony Weeks, your host, and my co-host this afternoon is none other than the Assistant CEO of the Virgin Islands EDA, Jennifer Nugent-Hill. Good afternoon. How are you doing today?
Well, good afternoon. It's good to be back again one more time, co-hosting again the Virgin Islands Economic Development Focus on the Marketplace, and lots of good things are happening.
You bring out the best in me. I just want you to know that.
Well, you know, you're an intelligent guy. You understand the economy.
Well,
and you understand the global economy, and you understand the Virgin Islands economy, and then you know what EDA does and what so it's okay.
I'm hanging out in your shadow. That's what really is really all about.
Then I'll have to start to sing, and I won't earn my living that way. It's good to be back, though. And
same here. The holidays are upon us. Mm-hmm. We're winding down the calendar year, fiscal year 2012, and I'm looking forward to what 2013 is all about. What do you say?
And we are very hopeful, and in fact, we'll take this opportunity on behalf of our CEO, Mr. Percival Clouden, to wish all of our Virgin Islands communities the very best for the holidays, and as we say in our curriculum, our local colloquial way of saying it, compliments of the season.
Yes, you said that yesterday, and you started a thing there.
Well, you know, it's our culture, and it's a good thing. We're proud of it.
Quick indoctrination by the folks who didn't know that. So that was good.
I know, but there is value in our culture in the Virgin Islands, and I oftentimes say that, no, we don't want to sell ourselves, but we want to project to the world what an incredible set of people we are as Virgin Islanders. You know, we got our culture. We're a good place to do business, good place to raise our children. Mm-hmm. We got a lot of things going on here in the Virgin Islands that's positive, and I think the last few months of our show, Anthony, folks have said, I didn't know that about the EDA, or, oh, that's what the Government Development Bank is all about. Oh, I'm understanding the EDC program, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to do a little more development on the topic that we started on, focus on the Economic Development Commission program, which everybody called the EDC program. And we started out with our new director of applications. Well, she's not new to the agency. I'd just like to reintroduce her one more time to the audience.
She just changed hats, right?
She just changed hats. She changed hats. And
good to see her.
My pleasure. We're happy. I'd like to reintroduce one more time to the public. You know, they're getting to know her. I mean, they all know her, especially the folks in the EDC programs. But the rest of the Virgin Islands community needs to know the person who is carrying this thing forward. And so I'd like to reintroduce one more time our Director of Applications, Miss Maggie Benjamin. And someone says, her official name is Margarita, but we like Maggie. So, Miss Maggie Benjamin, welcome one more time.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure to be here, and it gives me a great feeling to talk to our people about the benefits of our program. And so I look forward this afternoon to share some additional information regarding our application process and what we continue to do to make our program more effective.
Fantastic, fantastic.
And Anthony, I would now like to introduce our newest member of the EDC team. She has taken the role that Maggie had as the former Director of Compliance, and to welcome and introduce to the Virgin Islands business community and the rest of the community our new Director of Compliance, Mrs. Stephanie Berry. Welcome.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
It's a pleasure to be here in the marketplace with you today, Anthony, and I look forward to talking a little bit with our folks about compliance.
Good, good.
And Anthony,
the big C.
The big C,
Compliance.
And what she'll share with the audience a little bit about what we're going to be focusing on in our compliance department at the EDC program. The important thing I want the community to know about Ms. Berry is she is a professional. She's a quick learner, but then she had a great teacher. Maggie was able to share with her some of the secrets that I'm still learning about, you know, the things at EDC, the positive things, the good things. And,
so you don't have all the secrets?
No, we don't. Of course not. It's not in the best interest of the Virgin Islands community. But Ms. Berry brings to the table a great sense of professionalism. She's not unknown in both the public and private sector, which is really comforting that she understands that our responsibility here at EDA is to grow, well, to retain and to grow our business community. And the EDA is one aspect of that economic development focus. And what she's going to bring, I think, to the table is welcoming. And I think the synergy between Ms. Berry and Ms. Benjamin, I think, is good in that we're talking about two experienced professionals and very, very, very smart Virgin Islands women. And I'm just so proud to be a part of the team, link with them, because I just like being around smart, savvy.
What did you call yourself last night? The
I3s.
The I3s.
Yeah.
Well, I use something else.
Yeah, you know, it's powerful.
I know.
So with that, you know, Anthony, with Stephanie, and you know, Stephanie, we're sort of informal here on the marketplace. We're looking forward to the contributions that you're going to bring to the EDC program to raise the bar as high as we're able to do it. We've been on a very good course, and I think the platform that Maggie had laid out is one that you can build on, and I look forward to the exciting things that you will add to the team's effort. So, you know, I like to brag and say the team is, like I said, very sharp, very savvy. She is a doctoral candidate, a PhD candidate, and I think she's going to bring what I call this level of industrial, industrial organizational psychology,
development.
See, all those
things. That's a mouthful.
It's a big thing. You know what I mean?
Oh my goodness.
But it says a lot about the caliber of the team that's at the authority. And again, just welcome to the team.
Thank you.
Congratulations once again.
So Anthony, what I think we want to do for our audience on this particular show is to have Ms. Berry share a little bit about some of the things that she's thinking about as it relates to the compliance program at the EDC program, and then we'll come back to Maggie to talk about some of the things that she's doing as it relates to some new initiatives that she wants to put in place as it relates to the process of applying for benefits and some exciting things that she's working on.
Absolutely. And if just before you really dig into the technical stuff, just a little bit quick little bit about yourself, you know, because this community we're into, of course, who we are and our neighbors,
Yes.
and so you can just share a little bit about who you are, and then we can jump right into the other stuff.
Well, I'm a proud Virgin Islander. I graduated from St. Joseph High School. I'm a proud parent of two, product of the public school system. I've enjoyed opportunities in the private sector working for a law firm. I'm a nationally certified paralegal. I'm also a nationally certified professional in HR. And I've spent the past 2 years delving into our education. And it's just great to look at the other side, because along with our educating our community, we also need to make sure that we have a community to put our educated individuals in.
Yes.
So this is a great opportunity for me. I look forward to working with the EDA and especially in our EDC program, because I think at this point in our economy, it's really important that we do our part to grow our economy. So I'm just excited about being here. I'm excited about talking about compliance, and that's me in a nutshell.
So you are like, if I can coin it this way, you are the top cop of the EDA, because compliance is your area, and you're responsible for making sure that people walk in a straight line in terms of the program.
Yeah, but often compliance is seen with a negative connotation.
Well, I didn't mean it that way. I'm just saying.
And we need to change that perception.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing in 2013. We're changing we're calling it compliance at work, because one of our main functions is to work with our beneficiaries to make sure that they're in compliance, yes, but also to assist them in whatever areas that we may be able to assist them with, whether it's through our reviews or through maybe one of our sister units, getting in the information that they need to assist them. So compliance is not just about being the cop, it's about making sure that we work together with our partners and ensuring that they're here with us for the long haul. Retention and expansion.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, I want to think that I heard this consistent theme last night at the open house for the new EDC beneficiary. And there's talk about the caliber of the applicants coming in. And I know that the only way you get, if you will, the right types of organizations coming in is to look at the compliance rules and regulation. Yeah. And can we talk a little bit about that in terms of, I I know today's just for the introduction purpose, but I want to, you know, and of course Maggie, of course, you used to be the person in charge of compliance, and now you're director of application. So please jump right in. As we look at the issue of the environment, when we ask folks to relocate their operations, leave their existing market to come to the U.S. Virgin Islands, that we create an environment that is very attractive to folks. How would you describe that process, if you will?
Well, you're kind of leading into our second segment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
With the question.
Am I cheating? We can back up if you want.
That's okay. We're a team here, so
okay.
we can work around it. We can work around it.
But basically, we one of the things, and we've heard that through different platforms in terms of whether it's at the Senate or whether it's at a DPNR hearing in terms of planning. And once we have identified the target industries that we want to be relocate to the territory, it then deems for us to understand what those industry needs are and to plan for the entrance of those entities into our community. Of course, the social issues continue to be on the top of everyone's calendar or agenda in terms of the quality of life issues in order to relocate to the territory. Is there good schools, healthcare system? Public safety continues to be on the top of the agenda. And so in terms of them knowing that the program is available to them, which in turn will be benefit to them financially, they are also weighing whether or not it's a safe and healthy place to do business.
And that's important because you know, you're asking folks to literally, you know, uproot themselves and then plant themselves in a new place. And now, do you hear a lot of applicants say, well, this is the way we're accustomed to do business, now we're now coming here, it's very different. I mean, are you hearing that? I mean, talk to me a little bit about that, please.
That is something that I guess we all go through when we change environments. And that's why it's so important for us here at the EDC and EDA overall to make sure that we maintain some level of consistency. That's why I'm not the cop. I'm part of the concierge team.
I take it back.
She's a partner.
We're ensuring, we want to make sure that our beneficiaries are comfortable being here. You know, it's the public safety issues, it's the family issues, it's all those issues that come into play when we're looking at an applicant. And when we want to make sure that when they do come here, when they make up their mind that this is the best place for them to be, that we do all that is possible to make sure that they stay here. And that's what we do in compliance. We want to give them that feel good all the time. All the time.
And one of the mechanisms that we use to acclimate them as to the way that we do things or what is required of them is in our orientation.
Yes. Excellent.
Yeah. Now, being the assistant CEO, responsible for the implementation of the policy of the overall organization, as we look at compliance issue, the rules and regs that are created, is that germane to the territory, or do you look throughout the country and use other models as a way to create that, if you will, environment from a compliance point of view for attracting new players to the new companies to the territory?
Well, it's germane to the Virgin Islands because the compliance aspect of our EDC program requires adherence to our rules and regulations for doing business, the Virgin Islands Economic Development Commission's rules and regulations. And then, of course, we do look at the national requirement. For example, after Maggie's team has done their analysis and make recommendation to the board for approval of an applicant to receive benefits, and the applicant has agreed to all that they've said in their applications. One of the things that we do before the final yes on the certificate is, are they legal? Are they are there any issues out there that we think would be negative, have a negative impact on our program? Are they in good standing with the Treasury Department, for example? Are they licensed? Are they contributing to the programs that we ask them to contribute to as part of their benefit package? So we do concern ourselves with the Virgin Islands Economic Development Commission rules and regulations, and that is what guides us through the compliance process. So whatever they've agreed to in their certificate is what we measure their performance on. And I think what was just mentioned by Ms. Berry is that we are about helping our partners to meet the requirements of a contractual obligation, because really it is a contract with the Virgin Islands government or the people of the Virgin Islands, as is outlined in a certificate of benefits. And we want to retain them, but we also want our partners to expand and grow, because the more they expand and grow, then it benefits us. But in order to ensure that that growth occurs in the sense of, you know, complying with rules of laws and engagement of a contractual agreement between the people of the Virgin Islands and an EDC company, we are required to manage the contract. And in managing the contract, compliance is part of that process, because it has to be good for the Virgin Islands as well. We want the companies to benefit and grow and to profit, but we also want the people of the Virgin Islands to gain from having those companies. And so the compliance side of the program is one that we hold really, really dear to us. And I think, as Stephanie has just indicated, it is not about a cop got you. It's about what part of this contractual certificate or benefit you need some help with. You know, where the challenges are you experiencing? Because we want them to comply, you see, because it's good business. It makes good business sense.
So policing is a dirty word.
No.
Well, one of the things that we also, for education of the public, is that while the compliance unit there is a partnership relationship with the clients in terms of educating them on what the rules are, what the requirements are, that the final decision and any petition that's coming from an applicant lies with the board. So we will educate them on what the requirements, what are the avenues for any modifications or changes if they're having difficulties in meeting the contractual obligations, but the final decision is done through the board decision meeting, and the board has the final say in that regard.
And I think that's a nice segue to something that Stephanie mentioned, both Stephanie and Maggie, in terms of the orientation process, which is handled in the compliance. You want to talk about what that portion or that process is like in the compliance aspect of the EDC program?
Once the beneficiary has been issued a certificate, we meaning the compliance unit, will have a meeting with them. We assign a compliance officer, and it's basically the point of contact for the beneficiary throughout their certificate period and beyond. During the orientation, we provide them with the rules and regs of the EDC program, but we also try to establish the necessary rapport to let them know that we aren't the cop, that we're here to assist them, and these are the requirements that they have to make sure that they follow in order to maintain their certificate. We are responsible for not only assisting them, but also during that orientation, there may be questions that come up about the difficulties they've had, or questions with regards to their specific niche. Every client is treated as an individual. Not every client will be the same. It might be the same industry, but there are little nuances that we have to be cognizant of. And so the orientation is an opportunity for us to bond, for us to make sure that we let them know what is required of them and what their expectations are of us, because this is a partnership that we're forming from the beginning. And it also gives us an intro into further development down the road. You may not see us all the time, but we will be there with you as you need us, from the orientation all the way through the process, whether it's reporting, whether it's a challenge that they may have with some of our partners. We do have MOUs with our sister agencies, IRB, DLCA. Those are the kinds of partnerships that we're putting together. This is about pooling our resources through our agencies, through our units, to make sure that we provide the support system that's necessary to retain our beneficiaries once we get them into the territory.
How would you, and I want to get back to a statement you made in terms of making sure we create an environment to attract the kind of industry would like. And I'd like to, I'm just curious to know when you say it kind of industry, if you can share, give us an idea of what some of those industry are. But how do you manage or juggle, and I gotta, again, congratulate for, inviting and acquiring and, allowing a publicly traded company. I don't know if it's the first publicly traded company to be listed under the program in the Virgin Islands.
Virgin Islands Incorporated.
All right, and the challenge, now the bar has been risen because of the tough, stringent rules of the Securities Exchange Commission. And so from a compliance point of view, I understand the local aspect of it, but then when you're talking a public traded company, the rules are such that they are held to such scrutiny. And, is there conflict, any potential conflict? Do you see a tweaking of the rules, if you will, to continue to attract more publicly traded companies based from a compliance point of view?
I don't think it's so much tweaking as making sure that we are in sync with what is required, because we don't want to lower our standards. What we want to do is maintain or increase our standards so that the beneficiaries are comfortable. If they're already performing or complying at the federal level, we don't want to say, okay, well, this is good for them, but not for us. We want to make sure that we maintain a certain level of quality throughout our compliance process.
And what's key to understanding is that as part of the contractual agreement, and it's by law, they're required to comply with all federal as well as local laws and rules and regulations. So they're governed by the SEC laws, and they're required to have reviews, and there can be sanctions and violations as part of the compliance process. We will follow through as we know what regulatory agency that particular industry must also comply with to then ascertain whether there have been any violations in those areas.
Would it be unusual for the SEC to say, as we look at attracting more publicly traded company, would they want to review the compliance process with the EDA and making sure that their members, if you will, are making sure that they're being good corporate citizens?
Well, our program is administered through Treasury by law, and so they can at any time come and ask to review the program here locally. So the authority that was granted us to give the exemption, in particularly also those relating to the income tax, is governed by U.S. law, Internal Revenue Service, and so at any time they can come and ask to review our program.
So they have carte blanche. They have carte blanche to.
Well, carte blanche I wouldn't say, but but they have the ability to say that this program will no longer be allowed to the territory.
Are you given the degree of autonomy to say, okay, we understand these are the federal rules, but these are some of the things we think we need to do to be competitive? Do you have that discretion?
Well, as I said earlier in your first question, whether or not our partners are required to adhere to just local laws, and my response is, well, they got to meet the standards of the EDC program and that of the Department of Treasury, U.S. Department of Treasury. But your question, as it relates to this new company, Ocwen and Altisource, that we had an opening activity just yesterday here in Frederiksted, is our first publicly traded corporation within the EDC program. There are other corporations that are in the territory that are not partners in the EDC program that are publicly traded company or owned by publicly traded corporations.
What do you mean, like Kmart type companies?
Tropical Shipping. It's owned by a publicly traded corporation. And so they, like as Maggie has said, the high level of expectation of our program has always been our desire to be able to maintain the integrity of our EDC program is our goal. And as we advance the efforts of our marketing outreach to bring similar companies like Ocwen and Altisource Asset Management to the territory, we recognize that the application process is going to be as less cumbersome, but also there will be requirements to protect the integrity of this program, because the EDC program is a critical component of our opportunity to grow the economy of the Virgin Islands. So, and I think our partners, the businesses that are members of the EDC program right now, recognizes that it's in their best interest that the highest level of integrity be applied to this program, because I don't think any corporation in America today wants, at least not in the Virgin Islands, in our EDC program, wants to be marred with anything that's negative. It doesn't do them good, and especially so for a publicly traded corporation, because their stakeholders, or shareholders rather, are going to be as concerned, because that's their investment. That's thus the publicly traded corporation. But I think, Anthony, you asked a question that I think I'd like to have Maggie respond to. With regards to the applications. What are we doing and how are we doing, and what is she going to be advancing in the new year towards bringing in more companies through an easier process, so that when Stephanie gets the client after the work has been done by Maggie, so she can do the compliance side of it to ensure that they're profitable. So, you know, Maggie, you want to talk to us about some of the things you're going to be thinking about as you get, so now that you get a little break, because she was functioning in both a capacity for a little while. So now that Stephanie is on board, she's ready to run and go fix the application process.
Well, of course, I always believe in engaging our partners in any process change and getting their feedback. And so one of the things would be my initial is to get their feedbacks regarding the good things and the bad things of the process, those things that they felt that were challenged, so that we can take a look at it internally as to what we are allowed to do within the confines of the existing law. As we work towards processing changes and recommendations for changes in legislation that would help us to be more effective. As we try to, number one, expedite the applications as they come in, to make informed decisions regarding the applicant. Our application, while may be tedious, many of the items in there are for us to gather information, but we want to make sure that we can facilitate our processing, our background checks, our analysis of the application. So we want to make sure that the information is provided to us in a consistent format that would help us to better facilitate the processing of that. And now we may have 3 different applications coming in with the way that the information is presented differently, and our period of time in having to analyze that is extended based on how it's presented. So there are process changes, application changes, to try to attempt to have a smaller application but be able to still capture the quality of information that we need in order to do our due diligence. So immediately, the 2 things that should come out of this is being able to communicate with those that are already on our program regarding what they feel are the positive things and the challenges of the application process. Out of that feedback, in order to meet our goal, which is to be more effective and efficient as we process the application, is how we can do that while minimizing any kind of challenges to our customers. And as we go through this process, it's also important that we engage our government partners, because throughout the application process, while it also happens on the compliance side, is that there are some challenges as they go through in preparing the application, in delays in getting information or certification from other government agencies. As we talk about target markets, we also need to identify that whether or not there are regulatory laws and rules in place to govern a particular industry that may be new to this territory that we have no governance over, in terms of any compliance requirements from them, from licensing, or from banking and insurance. So different things to ensure that as we do welcome a new industry into the territory, that we do have the mechanisms in place to ensure that the best interest of the territory is at hand.
We only have less than 3 minutes, but you've perked my interest on something. I've often heard of applicants going to the Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs to apply for a license, but sometimes it turns out that category or that type of business is not on that list. What if an applicant comes in and they're in a different industry that is not listed, from a compliance point of view, does that create what kind of challenge does that create for you guys?
Once they receive a legal license from the Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs in terms of where they think that business industry is placed, then that's considered a compliance. The issue is that the licenses are not in line with what we call the NAICS code. that you would see in national tax filing requirements and regular U.S. licensing procedures. They're not as defined. So you may have a retail license, but that retail license can be anyone using it for shoes or for mechanics, different things. So it's not specific. So even in terms of data collecting, in terms of our territory, that is key. So the Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs is one of our task force member, and in our last meeting they discussed that they are attempting to address that deficiency. And so that is one of the things that we're looking forward to see.
Because I was just envisioning if someone comes in, if I'm a potential applicant, and they don't have that particular category for my business, and the question is, how will that impact the turnaround time for a decision to be made whether or not we move forward or not, based on the non-existent of that category?
The good thing is that a business license is not required until the company has actually commenced their business. So at the point that we have an application that has come in and they have proposed to develop this type of line of business, they have incorporated, but they haven't started their businesses yet. In our task force meeting, we can have those discussions with our partners and say, we have this particular industry that is now coming to the territory, and they'll say, we don't have an activity code for that industry, but they get the heads up that this is a potential applicant that's going to be coming to their office, that's going to be seeking benefits, and that they would need to address that issue.
Maggie's referencing a task force, and I'd like for both of you to just talk about that task force and why that is so important, because I think that I can imagine folks are saying, okay, which task force? It's such a critical part of the EDC program, so address that. Who is this task force and what do they do?
Our partners on our Economic Development Task Force are basically other regulatory agencies that come in contact with our beneficiaries. We've got the Department of Labor, the Bureau of Internal Revenue, the Tax Assessor's Office, Small Business Development. Those are the entities, amongst others, that we come together every quarter and we talk about some of the issues, the feedback that we get on the application side and the compliance side from our beneficiaries, the issues with the NAICS codes, etc. We bring all of these divisions, agencies to the table and we say, this is the issues, these are the issues we have, what are the possible solutions? And they in turn share information from their interaction with the beneficiaries. And this is an intricate part of our feedback process of building our skills and building our processes that are necessary to minimize issues such as going and getting your license and there's no code available. We try to also do preventative measures in our task force to make sure that if there is an industry that's coming online from the application side, that all our sister agencies are aware of what's going on ahead of time.
And I'd like Maggie to talk specifically to a role that one of our partners on this task force, for example, in our certificates, our partners who ship in goods and materials, the Department of IRB's Excise Division, and of course Customs and Border Patrol. What is the benefit of having this task force and in the sense of from the application process as well as the compliance side? Why is that so important?
Well, first of all, we try to educate our partners regarding the requirements under the law to ensure that we all are consistently applying the processes. We want to make sure that they can effectively apply those processes. And recently we've started to do our in-house training. When we say our in-house training of staff under these agencies to ensure that they understand what is allowable under the exemptions. The benefit of that is that they are the ones on the front line, and while we issue a certificate to a beneficiary and those that are in management may sit on the task force, the practitioners on the day-to-day business is the employees on the front line. And so we talk with them regarding what is allowed under the contract, what the law allows to be cleared through excise tax for importation, exportation, and if there's challenges on the port, what do we expect them to have their response to be, and how do we handle it to facilitate that communication with the client without any frustrations. And so a lot of our employees were new, and they were moved or reassigned to different positions, and so we felt it's important that we re-educate and educate those that were new regarding what those requirements are. And it only makes it more effective and efficient for when the client comes to the port or their broker comes to the port, but it also gives them a sense of comfort so that they don't consistently have to keep calling our office in order to get information as what to do to address a particular situation.
You want to say what else do you think you're going to be using the task force as part of your enhancement service? I think you've coined the phrase that the compliance unit is a customer focus and customer centered. So, and we'll sort of wrap up with Stephanie's closure.
It's really about working together collaboratively to make sure that all of us are on the same page. Our workshops that we started doing is just another level, and our hope is that once we get the feedback, once we start the collaboration, that way we'll be able to make sure that our beneficiaries feel comfortable with us, that we can retain them, and they will spread the word, not only about our program, but about our agencies that they come in contact with.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, folks, you've heard from these two finally dynamic ladies who are responsible for two very important aspects of the EDA and the EDC program. Of course, we have the Director of Application, Margarita Benjamin. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
And of course, the new member with her new appointment, new designation as the person in charge of compliance, Stephanie Barry. Thank you so much for coming by, and I hope that you guys have a wonderful, the compliments of the season. I got it myself.
Many
I got
happy returns.
And we are celebrating the 60th anniversary of the Christian Cruising Christmas Festival. I can get that right. And folks, for those who are unable to watch it on the local Access channel, you can watch it at www.insidethemarketplace.com. That's www.insidethemarketplace.com. This has been another exciting edition of EDA Focus on the Marketplace. We will talk to you soon.